I call
Good
this
evening.
meeting of the Columbus City Council to order for September the 21st, 2021. Welcome, everyone. At this time, on behalf of the Mayor's Office, City Council, and citizens of Columbus, I'd like to welcome Pastor Ethan Boggs and his family to Columbus. He is the newly elected pastor at Vibrant Church, and at this time, I ask him to come forward and open the meeting in prayer.
Thank you, Mayor Gaskins, and thank you to all of you who serve our community. It is much appreciated. And will you please join me in a moment of prayer as we pray over the safety of our community in this meeting, and also a special request for Hilda Gaskins, who I heard is in the hospital. So we're praying for your mother, Mr. Mayor. Father, we thank you so much for this community, and we pray a special blessing on tonight, unity and focus and direction. And we pray a special blessing on our community, the city of Columbus. Father, we thank you that you have your hand on this city, leading us, guiding us, directing us. And I pray a special blessing of peace and honor and unity to be evident in this community. And pray for the rest of this meeting tonight and the mayor's mother in the hospital to touch her body today. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thank you, Pastor Boggs. Council members, I ask you to examine our agenda. And I ask if you have any changes or additions. I'll give you a few minutes to review, or a few seconds. If not, if there's a motion to adopt the agenda for this meeting.
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilman Green,
Second.
second by Councilman Mickens. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Members of the City Council, you have before you the minutes of the previous regular meeting of September the 7th, 2021. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
On the minutes for September 7th, item number 8F, that refers to general counsel. Should it just be counsel or say city attorney there?
Our council is checking that to see. You're just asking about the wording?
Yeah, that's all.
Yes, it's just spelled council wrong. It should say general counsel, COUNSEL, instead of CIL.
But shouldn't it say city attorney or,
General counsel spelled SEL would be city attorney. It's interchangeable, but the spelling needs to be corrected.
Does that answer your question, Councilman? Okay.
yes. And on the September 15th minutes?
But we haven't got, we got to
Okay.
do these first.
Okay.
Any other comments on the minutes for September the 7th? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Stewart, a second by
Second.
Councilman Mickens. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. You also have before you the minutes of the special meeting of September the 8th, 2021. Are there any corrections? If not, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilman Green,
Second.
second by Councilman Mickens. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The last set of minutes before you are from the special meeting of September the 15th, 2021. Are there any corrections?
On the opening attendance notes, it says, with the exception of Councilmember Jones, who was absent. Should that not be clarified that Jones recused himself due to possible conflict with a sister working for the city?
Council?
That'd probably make it clearer why he wasn't there, but the fact that he's not there and didn't participate, it achieves the same result. So I would think it would be better to say that. Yes, ma'am.
Any other corrections? If not, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilwoman DeChico,
Second.
second by Councilman Green. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next, we approve the docket of claims. Council members, you have the docket of claims for September the 21st, 2021, totaling $1,327,729.68. That's $1,327,729.68. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
What about, I had a question.
I need to get a second first. Can I get a second?
Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Green and a second from, who was, Mickens? Okay, Jackie, you have a question now during discussion?
Yeah, this is only through August, and there are several line items that are already exceeding the annual budget, even before approving this docket of claims. So I'm concerned about budget violations for the 2021 budget.
Mr. Alexander, would you like to answer that question, please?
Councilwoman DeChico, so yes, there probably will be citations for overspending budget line items. Or does that mean that the overall budget has been overspent in totality? Most likely not, based on what I've looked at. However, we won't know that until we do the end of the year stuff. But yes, I mean, we should not be spending money out of budget line items when there's not sufficiently budgeted funds there. You're welcome.
Any other discussion or questions? Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes 5-1. Thank you. Next, we have on our consent agenda items A through K. Council members, do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
I have a motion by Councilman Mickens.
Second.
I have a second by Councilwoman Stewart. Any discussion?
What about the report from Ms. James? When you compare this one to the August report, oh, sorry, let me get on. All right. Oh, that's on the other, okay, sorry.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving into general comments from the mayor and council. Before I proceed, I would like to ask the council if they have any comments or announcements. Yes.
About the CARES Act money. I know I read something said that we misused that money. Joe, can you tell me, when we still have that money, have we spent any of it?
This is a question about the CARES Act.
Yeah, what can it be used for?
Wait, will you repeat the question?
Yeah.
Well, I heard that, or I read somewhere that they said that we misused that money, and I know we hadn't approved any spending of the money, so I want to know if it's still in the account, and what can that money be used for?
Oh, yes, sir. The CARES Act money, let me take this. We received that money last year. We've completed all of our paperwork for it. This was one of those, we had to complete the paperwork before we got our money. So we satisfied all the requirements. That money, when y'all took it in, was voted to go ahead and set it aside and not spend it. And as far as I know, nothing has been, y'all have not spent any of it yet in any form. But the note that was put out on the internet was incorrect. We've met every requirement to receive the money. We did that in advance, and we're not out of compliance or anything like that. It's your money to spend in any form that you want, because it was a reimbursement for expenses that were related to COVID. So it came in, we turned in all the receipts to say we want a reimbursement. It was approved, and it was all put in the bank for you, so you can spend it how you wish. Any way you wish. It's just like general fund money.
Okay, so it could have been used to give raises also, is that correct?
Well, it's not reoccurring money.
Right.
Oh, okay, or one-time premium, like
Yes, it could be used for that.
Yeah, it was $553,695.
$553,000.
Yes, sir. But it is, we received it, we got the check in, and it's there for you.
Okay, so we still have it in the account, okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else have comments? If not, then I would like to announce that October is not only Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it's also National Chiropractic Health Month. I will read an excerpt from a proclamation that will be presented to Flex Chiropractic later this month. I'm not even going to try it again, guys. I'm that tired. Proclamation for the National Chiropractic Health Month 2021. Whereas there has been a general increase in the prevalence of inactive lifestyles over the years due to advances in technology and transportation, and worsened over the years by the COVID-19 pandemic and the increase in remote work, leading to an increase in musculoskeletal conditions such as lower back pain and joint pain. Whereas research shows that physical activity provides several important health benefits, including helping to manage weight, increase bone and muscle strength, lower blood pressure and cholesterol, and decrease risk of heart disease and stroke, and reducing the risk of anxiety, depression, and enhancing sleep and quality of life. I need that. Whereas National Chiropractic Health Month 2021 serves as a reminder to all citizens that doctors of chiropractic can be key partners in helping them to keep moving by treating pain and improving function in non-invasive, non-drug approaches that are safe and effective. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Columbus officially joins with the American Chiropractic Association as it promotes the physical and mental health benefits of physical activity and its Keep Moving campaign by proclaiming October 2021 National Chiropractic Health Month. Also, at this time, I would like to make just a quick comment. Coming up later in the meeting, we're going to be looking at discussing the American Rescue Plan Act. And I just wanted to remind the council and the people in the audience that this came up at our last special meeting too, during that unfortunate time when we discovered where our budget is and the situation we found ourselves in with raises. And what I want to remind the audience is that we said at the last meeting that we were very open to researching how we can potentially use this money for our employees. You know, our employees are our most important asset to the city, and we always want to do the best that we can in the money that they receive on behalf of the city. I will also remind everybody that at the last council meeting, we voted to advertise for consultants to help us plan and the use of the money and making sure that we are in compliance with the American Rescue Plan Act and other related state and federal funding. Those are still out there. We've not received those yet. This week, I have talked to a person that sent me some information out of Rankin County where I think that they have found ways to give, they're not calling it a bonus, but they're calling it a COVID compensation to all the employees in Rankin County. I don't remember the amount, but I got the name of the attorney, their attorney who has been in consultation with attorneys in Washington on being able to use it properly. And I've also been in contact with our council this week because we're very serious about finding ways to compensate our employees and also make sure that this money that we're receiving is that we do everything we can to make sure that we're not only have that money as a resource, but to make sure that we're getting as much as we can from matching dollars to make sure we take advantage of every penny. And to be able to do that, it's been, I've been told by many, including other mayors across the state, that we really should have counsel on that before we make any definite decisions. And I know this is a difficult question for everybody. It's an emotional one, but I think it's imperative as elected officials and leaders of the community that we do our due diligence to make sure that we're doing this in the right way that benefits everybody. So I was going to ask Jeff if he would make a few comments on that too before we move forward in the meeting.
Sure, thank you. I'll be glad to. I know everybody in here has probably done some research on the American Rescue Plan Act. When you voted previously to advertise for a consultant to plan and to help you with the compliance issues, I really did not continue spending a lot of time researching that. And so I was sort of surprised to see it on the agenda tonight, and for all across the board pay raises. And I went to, first of all, I called my partner, Chris Latimer, who represents the city of Starkville. He said that Starkville is doing mostly, they're taking it up tonight, but they're not giving pay raises. They're hiring 2 police officers, assuming the council vote, the aldermen vote for it over there. The proposal is 2 police officers, and the rationale will be that they were needed to combat the increase in crime resulting from COVID, and that they're going to spend money on parks, water infrastructure improvements. There are 4 broad categories. You have tourism-related expenditures, water, sewer, and broadband. You have ability to allocate to businesses and families and individuals who have had a disproportionately negative impact from COVID. And then there's this issue of premium pay, which I think is what the proposal is to use. I read the parts of the American Rescue Plan Act interim final rule, which is kind of weird. I don't know how it could be interim and final. But anyway, it's 151 pages long, the interim final rule. The part
Please
dealing,
don't read all that tonight.
part dealing with premium pay is probably 15 or 20 pages long. And there's some statements in there that give me some comfort that you could do it, and there's some statements in there that scare me that you can't do it across the board. For example, one provision says you could pay premium pay to an essential worker, but then it says essential work would be that involving regular in-person interaction or regular physical handling of items handled by others. Then there's another part in there that talks about eligible employees, but it doesn't use the term essential workers. It's quite confusing to me. And one thing's for sure when I read through there is you can do retrospective pay back to March of 2020 if the workers qualify. And you could also do prospective pay for some employees. So with that, I would say there should be no real hurry to do it, because you can still do it the next time you meet or the next time when you finally have counsel. The lawyer I talked to today from Butler Snow, who is the lawyer for the Mississippi Municipal League, said he would encourage any municipality thinking about spending it in any way to adopt a resolution making very clear findings to support the decision that you are spending the money, so that when you get audited by the federal government, that you'll be able to justify the expenditure. And he pointed out to me, as I've heard it before from several people, when you receive more than $750,000 in federal funding, you're going to get an audit from the federal government. So we need to be darn sure we do it right, and we need to be darn sure we dot all the i's and cross the t's. I'm not trying to undermine the idea. I just think we have plenty of time, and we should not rush into it and make a mistake in the process. So I would hope that you might consider tabling this tonight.
Thanks, Jeff. But while we're also talking, we want to take a moment to discuss the noise ordinance that's been an issue here in Columbus for several months now. Could you update us on that too while you're talking?
Yes, I sent the draft ordinance around to the council members some weeks ago, probably 3, maybe 4 weeks ago. It's pretty all-encompassing. It's modeled after the ordinance Oxford put into place. And one thing that it does require is that we have a decibel reader that would be capable from certain distances of measuring the A spectrum and the C spectrum of sound. We do not have a decibel reader, and it was my suggestion to the mayor and the COO that we buy one of those, so that before you adopt the ordinance, you can turn on some music and have the decibel reader tell you how loud that is. It would seem to me that would be very important for you to understand before you put it in place.
And we have ordered that, and we should have it here for the next council meeting. I believe Oxford spent probably $10,000 or more on someone to help them with this ordinance, correct?
They spent at least $10,000. The last time I talked to them, they paid a consultant from Louisiana with some expertise in sound and audio, and I think perhaps even noise ordinances, to come up, and he spent quite a bit of time in town and trying to strike a balance between people that want to have peace and comfort in their homes and those that want to party.
So to those, because we're still hearing from residents from different locations throughout the city, not just one, that were concerned with noises throughout their community. So we're taking those complaints very seriously, and we're trying to do our homework and making sure that we can solve this problem. And instead of reinventing the wheel, we're studying closely what a sister city did to some success, we think. Okay, council, the monthly city department reports are before you. Do you have any questions for our department heads?
Yeah. That's for everybody, all the department heads?
Yes.
Yeah, I have one for, I just like to make an observation, Mr. Mayor, if I
Sure.
can. I noticed last week that, first and foremost, I want to thank Mr. Alexander for the job he did coming in and filling in like he did. But he did say we did end up with a surplus of $163,000. And Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make a proposal that we go ahead and get the SBUs for the fire department, what they need. If you can see anyway, since Mr. Jones brought up with the CARES Act, we got money there, and I know we need to do repairs to the buildings here. We need the radios, equipment for PD, but first and foremost, I want to make a motion that we use that surplus to get the apparatus for the fire department.
In that motion, would we be able to use the CARES fund? Because we do have money in there that could be spent
Yes,
for
sir,
that and
if
the
you
radios.
see fit, we can. Second.
Okay, is your motion just for the breathing apparatuses at this point, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's it. If anybody else do what they want to do, I I'm concerned about the firemen, and that is very crucial
It is.
that they have that, Mr. Mayor.
Want to put a price on it so that the public and everybody else will know what we're spending?
Sir?
What price are they?
The estimated cost is $180,000 to replace. Right now, that price is based on bulk ordering, so the chief is going to order with other municipalities to get a reduced price. Obviously, if we order them individually, the price will go up. But price he's given me is $180,000. They have $20,000 that was allocated in their budget, so the amount that would come from whichever source you make the motion on, whether the CARES Act or the surplus, would be $160,000.
Okay. So I guess you would have to put that in your motion for $160,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion
Surplus.
from Council Mickens to spend $160,000 either from the CARES fund or our surplus to purchase the breathing apparatuses for the fire department.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second?
Second.
From either the,
Do we not have to specify?
well, it could be either fund. He said, in his motion, he's saying either the CARES or the surplus.
Well, I would think it need to be
You want
specified which
one?
fund we're gonna take it out of, yeah.
Which one would be best, Mark?
We have it in the surplus.
The way we're going to have to do this is, and I don't want to get too much in the weeds just on this individual thing, but we're going to have to calculate at the end of the year all the leftover cash on hand in your general fund balance, your cash and investment balance in your general fund. Just to kind of loop back around, this year when the error that was found in the solid waste budget that was brought up, I mean, that is technically from an accounting perspective incorrect. The solid waste budget comes out of the general fund budget. That's where those expenditures occur. The budget that was approved, advertised, placed in the newspaper accounts for the solid waste budget. The actual overages that the city has spent in unbudgeted funds in this year, the year we're in right now, not the budget that you voted for at the previous meeting, those overages are going to come from your Parks and Recreation Department, landfill, and what I think is a $35,000 error, typographical error in your appropriations budget. I don't have it right in front of me, which line item it was. The reason why that was not found is the sum of those three items roughly equates to the sum of the solid waste expenditures. So in one budget, what you call a budget, which is actually just a worksheet that long with all the departments, you did not show the solid waste budget. However, we had Parks and Rec and the landfill, and those are actually enterprise funds, which we do have to budget for, but we probably should have budgeted for them separately outside of your general fund tabulation. On the budget that was published, you have the beginning and ending cash balance, and you have the solid waste budget, but no Parks and Rec budget, no landfill budget, okay? All that to say, the surplus funds, wherever we allocate it, I'll have to go back and see how Ms. Vaughn did it. The surplus funds will more than likely be in next year's budget, in the admin and finance budget, and transfer out, okay? Which means we would transfer those funds, $160,000 out of there into the fire department to spend and buy the breathing apparatuses. Or in the next year, we could take the money out of the cash balance and transfer it in to the fire department. Ultimately, I mean, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another in terms of, you know, if you don't spend the surplus, it'll go to the cash balance. If you don't spend the CARES money, it stays in your cash balance. So to Councilman Green's question, it's really just your preference. It'd probably be easier to do the surplus because it's already in your budget, wherever she's placed it, and I don't know exactly where it is, but it should be in a transfer out line item. So I would suggest from the surplus, and if not, we can amend it to something else if we need to, but that's what I would suggest.
Well, you just want me to rescind that motion and just put it in a motion there that we allocate them funds from the surplus that's gonna be left over from the fiscal year.
Sure, I think that's fine.
Okay, Councilman Mickens rescinded the first motion and now is asking that we consider taking using any surplus money to cover the breathing apparatuses for the fire department, which will cost approximately $160,000.
The transfer will be 160, total price is 180. They've got
Okay.
$20,000
Okay.
in that line item budgeted
Everybody
already.
clear on that?
Yes.
Second.
We have a second from Pierre, Councilman Beard. Any more discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hands. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for department heads at this time?
Yeah, I had a question for the chief, but I see he's not here, but the assistant chief is, right?
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on the information that I asked for about the tickets that get thrown out. I don't know why we can't figure that out, but I would like to get that information.
Okay, like I said, I don't know exactly, the process of what's taking it on, but I'll make sure
Okay.
that information gets.
I mean, I think it's a real problem if we, as a chief or anybody, you can't look and see how many tickets are written and how many thrown out, That's a real problem. We
We
don't,
can get on the
yeah.
report, see how many was written, or we can see how many was, retired to the file.
Right,
They really throw them out, they get retired to the file.
okay.
Okay, I'll make sure the chief shows.
Okay, thank you. And also, I had a question for Ms. Bonner also, but is she here or she's on the Zoom? I know we, sometime back, we asked about the policy. Where are we on creating that policy as far as?
She's driving, she told me if somebody brings it,
Oh, okay.
ask them to come up here and talk about it.
Okay,
She has submitted all the numbers, so the mayor and I asked her to submit a breakdown essentially on the total number of bookings since she's been there. And then try to categorize the bookings based on, of course, venue. So we would have the upstairs, downstairs, the Regal. Really, we haven't done any real renting of the farmer's market or its annex where we've done that recently where you have people, outside. It's been a lot of drive-throughs and things there. So we didn't do that, but we did do some prospective pricing for that. But anyway, we did that, and then to break it down based on how many were paid, how many were given away, and then also in general, of the ones that we had that were booked, which ones would have been, non-for-profit entities. The thinking was that if a policy was created, you could either have a discounted price for non-for-profits or some other, price discrimination based on if it's a charitable event. So the ball's essentially probably in mine and Mr. Turnage's court to write the policy and present it to you based on her numbers.
can we get copies of all that information as well?
Sure. Talking about the numbers and things?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll send it to y'all tomorrow.
all right.
Does everybody want it?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Be good. Thanks, Mark.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mark, do you want to, while you're up there, do you want to go ahead and, do you have anything to say about the financial report while you're up there?
I can answer any questions, but I'm not looking at it. But if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer it.
Okay. Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
The increase in the general fund is generally positive, and I see the explanation is that collections exceeded the checks written. And would that be because collections increased or checks written decreased? And is that a sustainable condition?
Well, it could be both. I haven't dug into that, but I could certainly look. I mean, the way to understand the municipal expenditures is that, we as the city government, you have both an irregular collection of revenue on a timetable basis, not all, but some. You also have an irregular collection of amounts that may be regular. So for instance, your ad valorem, swings very wildly based on what months that we get paid. Sales tax collection is another example. It doesn't swing wildly, but you're budgeting in arrears on the collections. So in some months, yes, when you look at it, you may have huge revenues versus your actual cash, what you've expended. Is that sustainable? I mean, I don't know in what exactly is sustainable to continue to do what? I mean, if you're saying to put money towards your cash balance, I wouldn't say without planning for it, but on a month-to-month basis, you're not going to be able to say we need to take a set amount each month and put towards our cash balance necessarily, because you have such irregular revenue collection that's actually coming in. If you wanted to say at the end of the year, we would like to add so much to our ending cash and investment balance and have this much in there, yes, it would be. Does that answer your question? Okay. You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mark? If not, we'll just move to the board vacancy since
Okay.
he's here.
So the first appointment we have is the Historic Preservation Commission. We have 4 applicants. I'm actually going to call them up here slightly out of order because one of the applicants is on a time constraint. So I'm going to call up Ms. Frances Glenn.
Good evening, Ms.
I
Glenn.
was just asked to give a little.
Sure.
I'm Frances Glenn. I've been a lifelong resident of Columbus. I attended. Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
No, I attended Mississippi State and I majored in interior design, and I took classes in historic preservation and architecture. And I think that's when I started to realize what a beautiful town we live in, an historic town. My husband and I have been residents of Southside for 30 years. We think it's a great place. We enjoy downtown. I volunteer in different capacities around town with the Arts Council, the the library, my children's school. And I also have worked as an interior designer here, and we enjoy different things that I think you all provide for your citizens, such as the Riverwalk, the downtown soccer complex. The W is a wonderful place that we enjoy. But I work now as a marketing assistant at Visit Columbus, and I would love to. I've seen a lot of changes and improvements in the historic downtown, and I would like to be part of that as being appointed to this commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our next applicant is Mr. Demetrius Bennett.
Okay, that I remove my mask?
Yes, you can, Mr.
Thank
Bennett.
you.
Yeah.
First of all, I would just like to thank everyone for giving me the floor on today. I think that's wonderful that we have now that the applicants actually get to share what they're about. My name is Demetrius Bennett. A lot of people know me by Judah around here, Judah Bennett. But the Historic Preservation Committee is so important. I mean, it's a staple to our community. I feel that from the Victorian homes to the antebellum homes to every single New Orleans-inspired architecture home, it is really important to our city. And Columbus is really truly a city filled with charm and character. And I want to be a part of, helping out with preserving that and making sure that that goes nowhere. I was speaking with someone on earlier today, and we were discussing about how a lot of the things that are so dear to our city are being unfortunately dilapidated and torn apart. And I can attest to that because my family and I own several homes and commercial property across Columbus, and 2 of them are very dear to my heart, which are actually 500 feet apart from each other on Military and on 5th Avenue North. My uncle's church in the historic district and a home that we recently purchased, a 1903 Victorian styled home on Fifth Avenue. And it's quite hard to miss if you've ever been down on Fifth Avenue. It has 2 lines in front of it. So that's when I really became inspired about the historical part of our city. And that's one of the reasons why my family wanted to purchase that home, because it was actually my aunt and uncle's decision, and they moved here from Valdosta, Georgia. And number one, they wanted to move back to Columbus because, of course, that was their hometown. But number two, because of the beautiful architecture that is here in the city that they just couldn't get in South Georgia. So that's when I really became committed to helping them revamp that area. A matter of fact, the first decision that they had made was to actually buy a home a little farther off from there. And actually they turned that home down because unfortunately it had been dilapidated over the years. It was a 1920 Victorian style. So that's why I have a passion for the history of Columbus and the historical preservation, because a lot of the homes, especially on the north side district of our town, are unfortunately becoming dilapidated, and they're being abandoned and not being properly refurbished, fixed up, and preserved. So that's why I would love to serve on that committee and to help out with making sure that our city preserves what needs to be preserved. So thank you for that time.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Thank you.
Well said, sir. Well said. It's all right. It's all right.
Our next applicant is Mr. Bart Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I am William Lawrence. Most of you know me as Bart. I saw that you got a little confused at the last meeting. I am the outgoing member of the Historic Preservation Board. I've served 1 term so far. I am the owner of the Princess Theater, and I own a historic home in the South Side District. I think we've done some great things during my time on the board. You're not going to find anyone that's more committed to the improvement and preservation of downtown. I'm as invested as it gets. I think anyone that you pick off of this list is going to do a great job, but I sure would like the opportunity to continue on the board. I feel like we're at the highest level of optimism in downtown that I have seen probably in the last 10 years, and I would really like to be a part of seeing where we can go with that and make sure that we make downtown Columbus and the historic district the best that it can be. I thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lawrence.
Thank you, sir.
The last applicant is Mr. Bob Raymond.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. When I applied for the board, I was under the impression that nobody else was interested in it. I was just hoping to fill in a place that was needed. And we've got some excellent applicants ahead of me, and I'd like to withdraw my nomination. So thank
Are
you.
you sure? Thank you, Mr. Raymond.
Thank you.
Okay, so that, Mr. Raymond has just withdrawn. So do we have a motion for any of the other applicants that are here?
I make a motion, we appoint Mr. Bart Lawrence.
We have a motion to nominate Mr. Bart Lawrence by Councilman Green and a second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion?
Yes, just a discussion that I had with someone today, and I'm going to support Mr. Lawrence for this board, by the way. But I just want to thank the young man that came up here and how he spoke. And that's what we've been looking for on these board, diversity. Not only from a color standpoint, but from a young standpoint. A young person like this coming want to be on a board like this. And I hope we can find something for you later on. We appreciate you coming up here, young man. We appreciate you.
Any more discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Mark, do you want to outline the others that are coming up?
Yes, Mayor and Council, you'll have the next upcoming board vacancy will be one vacancy to replace Ms. Jennifer Box on the Columbus Lowndes Library Board. We will make that appointment at the next regular meeting, October 5th. There's one applicant, Ms. Melissa Smith.
Thank you. We will take no action on this opening until our next meeting on October the 5th, 2021. I would like to remind our citizens that board information and applications can be found on our website. Applications can now be completed and submitted online. Thank you. Mark, do we have any, or Mr. Alexander, do we have any items for citizens' input?
No items for citizens' input tonight.
Thank you. We'll move into the policy agenda. Council members, next we have our policy agenda. First one involves Mr. Stafford. If you have any questions, it's to discuss or approve the engineering contract for the CLCA Jet A fuel tank replacement project in the amount of $15,000.
So move. Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Beard and a second by Councilman Mickens. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. This one also involves, the next two involve Mr. Stafford. Discuss and approve advertising for bids for the CLCA Jet A fuel tank replacement project.
So move.
Have a motion by Councilman Beard, a second by Councilman Green.
Stewart.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Stewart, I'm very sorry. Second was by Councilwoman Stewart, not Councilman Green. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Discuss and approve submitting a 2021 MDOT TAP grant application for the Fifth Street corridor improvements.
So move.
Have a motion by Councilman Beard, second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion?
I'd like to, Mr. Stafford, could you fill us in on this a little bit more? I know this is the application process, but could you help us out a little bit?
Yes, sir, absolutely. So obviously, with some new council members, this project is along Fifth Street. It's a revitalization project for the gateway to downtown. This will be from, to put a face on it, y'all should have a rendering in there, but from Magnolia Bowl on the south end along Fifth Street at Fifth Avenue, and then proceed north on Fifth Street to Ninth Avenue, which will basically take you to where the interchange of Highway 45 and 82 begin. Right now, as y'all know, that's a 3-lane section that's got a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. There's no pedestrian access, no bike access accommodations along the route. It's the lanes are too wide, and it really accommodates speeding in the area, which is an issue. And so this project is a TAP grant, which is not to be used necessarily for roadways. It's really more for bike, pedestrian, multimodal type aspects. And so this is a project that the council approved last year for this same grant, but we were rejected based on some audit issues, which we feel will be remediated this year. So the only change between last year's submission and this year's proposal is obviously the cost of construction has gone up. It's gone up roughly about 10% more than where we looked at for last year. So we updated the unit prices, and y'all should also have in your packet the overall breakdown of this project. The request for funding from the DOT this is an 80-20 grant. The 80% request from the DOT is going to be $1,045,863. And then that would mean y'all's local share would be $261,465.75. Now that's for construction. This grant, because of the size of Columbus, MDOT will not participate in the design cost. And so right now we have a placeholder of 7% for that design fee based on the construction cost, which would make the city's total share at the end of the project $334,676.16. So that's the budget that we're looking at and the cost that y'all would be allocating tonight. If you voted to place the application, that would be y'all's cost share that you'd be committed to. Again, that's $334,676.16. Now, The project itself would basically move the curbs in. Again, on the rendering, I know it's probably hard to see with a 4-block section, but it would move the curbs in to basically still keep a 3-lane section, but it would add some center median islands with landscaping opportunities, but also better coordinate some of the turning movements such as at 7th Avenue and at the soccer complex. Also, it would add some pedestrian connectivity on the back of those curbs on both sides for sidewalks, but then also, y'all probably noticed from the laundromat that's in this area, a lot of the residents that use that walk across the street to the gas station. Well, there's no mid-block crossing there. So this will add a safety crossing for them that will actually, they'll only have to cross one lane, and we'll have an island there for refuge while they're waiting to cross the other lane. So it'll increase pedestrian crossing safety there as well. So those are some of the main aspects that this will accomplish. And again, because it has a pedestrian aspect to it, MDOT will allow us to also renovate the rest of the street while we're there to calm traffic, slow traffic down in that area. So those are kind of all the things it touches. But also, again, it's a corridor into our downtown. It's an area that everybody sees when they come through the bypass. And so I kind of liken it to the Fair Park project that was done in Tupelo years ago, and how it kind of helped revitalize their downtown as well. It was a doormat renovation for them.
And I think with all the stuff that we're doing with the soccer complex and what we're going to do over there, I think it'll accommodate that as well, where people can walk over down to the soccer complex. So I think that'll be a good point.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll touch on the application itself, some of the highlights that we touch on. If y'all recall, in 2010, there was a charrette done for various parts of the city, and in that charrette, this renovation was one of the highlights of it. It is part of the north side renovation, but it also highlighted at that time the soccer complex. It highlighted the need for renovations of Burns Bottom, and y'all know both of those are, one's done, the other's in motion. And so this piece has not been done. It also connects pedestrian connectivity to downtown, and eventually what will be one of our trail aspects, which is to extend the trail system that's in the soccer complex along Morris Creek. That'll eventually go up to 18th Avenue, up 6th Street, eventually all the way to the hospital, and then can wrap back around down Blue Cut, which is a much larger project, obviously. And so this is just one phase that would start that. But again, it ties to some of those good visions that were put out in 2010 and kind of continues it forward.
Thanks, Kevin. Any other questions or discussion? Do I have a motion?
So
I do?
moved.
I forgot. And we have a second. Okay, so we already did that. Sorry, guys. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Kevin talks so long, you forget where you are. Thank you, Kevin.
I have another question for
Oh,
Mr.
boy.
Stafford.
Thank you.
Yes.
Could you update us on the amphitheater?
Amphitheater, from my perspective, all the monies that were allocated are towards projects that we were over are complete and closed out, have been for over a year now. Obviously, there's still work to be done, and the amphitheater has been cleaned up and can be used if in its current state, if so chose. But I know Casey and his crews have been looking at maintenance, regular maintenance of the grass and weeds around the area. And of course, again, there's still scope to be done that I have not been in conversation with from a funding standpoint. But again, it's in a holding pattern at this point in time. I do know at one point in time we had some plans to use it for a base function that's currently on COVID hold, if you will. And but I kind of liken it to, if you wanted to use it right now, it's exactly what you have on the other side of the river. It's just ADA accessible, a lot higher up, a lot safer, a lot more accommodating than what you have on the opposite side of the river right now. So it can be used as a open air grassed amphitheater as it sits. It just would not have restroom and concessions at this time. So that would have to be portable, if you will, or temporary. But it does have a restroom in the back that's ADA accessible. Again, the entire facility is currently ADA accessible. And of course, the stage and the power and all the things that go with that are in place already.
Mr. Stafford, also, just to add on to what Mr. Green was asking, what stage are we at now with the amphitheater? I mean, we at stage 4, say we're going to stage 5, are we at stage 4 now? We almost there? What stage are we at?
Well, as the money's been provided, we're at the end of stage 2. Stage 1 kind of got the underground infrastructure and the stage in place. Phase 2 was the additional $500,000 we were given a couple years ago, which allowed us to put in some of the fencing and the front wall. So I would say stage 3 now would be to work toward, the city purchased a few years back a little over an acre to do some public parking over there. Casey and his crews have cleared that lot, have brought fill in. Current paving contractors actually using it to store some of their wrap. But long term, that will be a parking lot that will tie to the facility. And then also the restrooms and concessions. You tie both of those together to put a face on just what was not done from, everything's been designed from the original overall master plan. From the bids that were taken back in 16, there was about $2.5 million worth of improvements that have been designed that were not afforded. And then since then, we've added the parking lot, which is about a $500,000 venture as well. Obviously, 2016 bids are no longer at that same dollar value. So what was $3 million back then, it could easily be close to $4 million now. If you ask me to finish out everything, what would that cost be? So our next steps are to identify funding to get to the final step, or whether we use the amphitheater in an altered state until that time comes. And again, that's a bigger, broader discussion. And, there was a stakeholder group put together to kind of guide the next steps that has not met recently. So I think that's our next step, is to get back in the room and figure out what the desires are of the city to either get the facility open or completed.
Thanks, Mr. Stafford. In fact, I think there's a lot of questions in the community about the amphitheater, and since this was not on the policy agenda, I thank you for answering those questions. But what we'll do is we'll add it to our next meeting. We'll have a discussion about the amphitheater. So if we can move on the current policy agenda, we need to discuss and approve.
Can I say one thing right quick?
Of course.
I would hope that we have it in the policy that we're trying to create for the Trotter and all the city-owned buildings, as far as when we rent it out, or who we're going to rent it to, how we're going to rent it, and who's going to use it free and all that stuff. If we can include it in that.
Yeah, I think the discussion had been in the past that most amphitheaters like this have, I think the one in Tuscaloosa and the one in Brandon maybe, they have they outsource that to a group that brings in the different bands and stuff. So yeah, that'll be something we'll discuss. In fact, we'll try to get that on the agenda soon, because I think there's a lot of curiosity, because we were going to try to use it. We would have been, if COVID hadn't raised its head again, and our plan had been to announce that we were going to use it this past Sunday after Market Street with a band from the base. So that would have kind of been our, first foray into using it. So it's on our minds. Okay, anything else before I move forward on the policy agenda? Okay, here we go. Discuss and approve insurance renewal for medical dental products and approve agents of record for 21-22. Is Ms. Mitchell here? Pat? Oh, there you. Of course she is. She's.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members.
Good evening, Ms. Mitchell.
As you know, our insurance coincides with our fiscal year, so our renewal is effective October 1. We met with our insurance agents on September the 10th, and we presented claims that had been, that we had paid through August 10th. And at that time, we had a surplus of $30,000. Now we are proposing a renewal with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi with a 3% increase. That does not include lasers. We propose to renew with Delta Dental and with Sun Life Insurance Company with the same ancillary products. The laser, we have 2 large claims currently, and we don't know, we don't know how much those claims were run for 2021, 2022. We do have our agents here, and I do request that you approve the request to let us continue working with them. They have been very helpful in meeting with us on a quarterly basis and ensuring that we know where claims dollars are being spent. The City of Columbus pays every claim dollar up to $50,000, and after that we pay a reinsurance company to come in and pay those claims that exceed $50,000. It's an unknown, as I said last week. It's a risk we take. We don't know when we're going to have a large claim. but we need to have funds available to pay those claims. So those are the two requests that I asked tonight.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Jones. The second was Councilman Green. Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, one question, Ms. Mitchell. From looking at the access that we have, the fund that have came into the city from the insurance every year, I think Mr. Beard said we setting on now in the general fund at 1.3 or 1.2, is that right? In the general fund? And you said we need to keep it, we don't need to go below a certain figure, maybe you said we owe out right now 300,000, and then we might owe another 340, so we don't need to come under the 640. My point being, is there any way that we can give something back to the peoples, say for the deductible? Could we help them with that deductible from the funds that have been generated from this insurance?
Councilmember Mickens, I did have a sheet telling how much we have. Recommended claim reserve is $341,000. And our laser, which is those two large claims that we have, we're estimating $250,000 and $125,000.
Okay.
Our recommended surplus for 2021-2022 is $716,000. Any more specific questions about it, I would request our insurance agent, Mr. Tim Cox, Mr. Russell Brown, Mr. Christian Hinkle, to come forward. They'll be more than happy to answer any questions that either of you have.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, Mr. Tim.
Thank y'all for being here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council and Councilman Mickens. We actually discussed what you're asking in the Insurance Committee meeting about making specific benefit adjustments and making certain benefit adjustments, either lowering deductibles or employee contributions, things of that nature. You know, the only thing we're looking at this year, as Ms. Mitchell has alluded to, is we've got two members on the group who have ongoing medical claims. As long as those members remain on the group, those claims will occur. They're under treatment, so those claims will continue. And so we know you're going to need roughly $375,000 to cover those individuals. Their deductibles have been raised above that $50,000 reinsurance level. And that allows the city to have the cash flow to your advantage when we get into these situations. Unfortunately, we have the surplus in the account due to the good management you guys have had of the plan over the years. We've been able to surplus these monies. So we want to make sure that we maintain an adequate surplus. If you wanted to make benefit adjustments, and we talked about it in the committee meeting, was coming back after you finish this fiscal year, see where all of your budget surpluses end up, and then possibly discuss making some plan changes for January 1. Your deductibles and out-of-pocket accumulations, those all run on a calendar year.
Yes, sir.
Versus your insurance plan is run on a fiscal year as far as budgeting for it. But all of your employees and their covered dependents, their out-of-pocket deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance, those things all begin accruing on January 1st through December 31st. So we discussed, in that meeting, tabling, making any plan changes until January if the city's finances looked like they were in an appropriate situation to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor? Raise your right hand. All opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you very much
We
for your
appreciate it.
business.
Okay, the next item on the policy agenda is to discuss, approve, declaring the Rollins Krigler Building as, did I skip one? Okay, I'm
E.
sorry. Here we go. Discuss, approve, request to fill vacant site supervisor position for Sim Scott Community Center contingent on successful completion of pre-employment medical exam and drug screening. Have a motion by Councilman Jones and a second by Councilman Beard. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. We need to discuss and approve the declaring of the Rollins Krigler Building as surplus property and allowing the COO and General Counsel to engage a commercial appraiser to begin the process of selling the property.
So move.
We have a motion by Councilman Mickens and a second by Councilman Beard. Any discussion? Yeah, that's correct. This is the building that sits behind Zachary's, that I don't think we've been using for anything for quite some time. I think we'd had a Halloween event in there years ago.
Yeah.
But the parking lot's been used, I think, for,
Parking lot is used
yeah,
quite a bit when they have something to try.
for event parking.
For the trotters.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Discuss and approve premium pay to all city personnel through the American Rescue Plan.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna recuse myself from this one since it says all city personnel.
Councilman Beard?
Good evening, everyone. I come back before you. I did speak with you guys on last week about a proposal of premium pay to the city workers. I hear what everybody's saying. We're unable to do it, or we're not able to do it, or they don't have the information. What I'm not asking is to do it right now. What I'm asking is if we can, I guess, allocate these funds to these people once the information is available for whom or whom not can or cannot get it. There are cities, there are counties, there are states, there are plenty people that have already started to receive this money. Yes, we did vote on getting a consulting firm. I do understand that, but the consulting firm will only have to deal with what is allowed for him to deal with. So 5.7 million, regardless of how much we allocate to these people, we will subtract that from that 5.7 million, and that's what that consultant firm will base his information for the rest of the things that we want to be done. As far as in tourism, as far as in, I mean, whatever the four categories that we as a council see fit that this 5.7 of matched money can be used. But what I'm here for is we weren't able to give any of our employees any raises. That conversation is completely depleted almost. We do have money that is available to give to our employees, whether or not we know who can get it or who we want to give it to. But there's no, as our city attorney said, there's really, you have some cities and counties that everybody's getting it, then you have some that select few people are getting it. But one thing we do know is what? They can get it. We do know that they can get it. So what I'm here, I mean, like I said in my presentation last week, you have places that were giving them $1,500 stipends. You have counties that were giving up to $5,000 stipends. However much, we decide to give, if we're going to give it, that's totally up to y'all. But $5,000 sounds good to me. That's less than 25% of the money that we're going to get that can possibly be matched. We're looking at increasing revenue. We're looking at a lot of different things going on here in our city when we put this money back into circulation. So, I mean, that's just why I can take any questions if anybody has any questions. I mean, I've done a lot of research on this particular thing, and I know that this is something that can be done.
So let me understand you right, Councilman Beard. You're not asking to approve this, so you asking to set this a certain amount to the side.
Since that's the newfound information to see what or who can get it, let's go ahead and sit this money to the side.
So if we bring in the independent audit consultant in, then they say we can't use it for this, then that money would just go back in?
If they say we can't
with the
use
rest
it.
of it?
Yeah. Or what I say, we can use it, so whatever's not used could go back into it. So I got figures, $1,500, that's $390,000. That's give or take 260 employees. $1,500 a piece, that's $390,000. $2,000, that's $520,000. $3,000 per employee, that's $780,000. Up until $5,000, which is only $1.3 million. I say only because we're looking at, we all stated that, our employees deserve something, so we're here to give it to them. That's not only are we here to be good stewards of our taxpayers' monies, we're here to award our employees when the time comes. They've been underpaid. When I was in high school in 2006, and I can speak from Public Works, they had a summer program where you sign up and do 2 weeks. And in 2006, I got $10 at 16, 17 years old. So look at me, 33 years old, and they still doing what? Getting $10. So if we can award our people, that's what we need to do.
Councilman Beard, would you like to put it in a motion?
Well, I'll say make a motion that we allocate $1.3 million in premium pay to all of our employees once the consulting firms get here and figure out how we can disperse it and who gets it.
I would second.
We have a motion from Councilman Beard and a second from Councilman Stewart.
I'd like to make a substitute motion, please.
What's the substitute motion?
The substitute motion is that we table this until we get more information from our consultants and from our council on exactly what we can do, and then we can make better decisions.
We have a substitute motion from Councilman Green. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilwoman DeChico. All in favor, raise your right hand.
You got discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, any more discussion?
Yeah, with the discussion, you stated that if we can do it, we can. It's here for us to do it. We're not doing it right now. We're not doing it tomorrow. We're not doing it next week. The only thing we're doing is, like we did with the $576,000 that we thought we had, we put it to the side until we came up with a plan and a merit system to award it. So what's the difference? We're putting this money allocated to the side for these same employees that we put $576,000 that we thought we had to the side for them. We know that we have $5.7 million that can be matched if the paperwork is filled out properly. $1.3 million.
Council, help me here. What is he proposing? How much of a difference from what Mr. Green is saying? If I'm looking at what he's saying and what Mr. Green's substitute motion is, are they almost headed down the same path? Help me here.
Well, I understand Mr. Beard's motion, and I'm glad you asked me this because I want to make sure that I understand it, is to take the total amount that we expect to receive from the American Rescue Act funds. Right now, we only have $2.6 million, but we expect to have $5.2, and he wants to take $1.3 million of that and just set it aside, earmark it for pay raises to the extent everybody can get it, that would be what he would want to the extent
May
they're
I
limited?
correct, not pay raises?
Well, okay, thank you. Premium pay, one-time money for those employees that are eligible to receive it. And if that's everybody, that's what he wants. And if it's not everybody, then it's the employees that are eligible that he wants to get it. And I agree with you. I don't really, since you're not moving to pay it right now, you're moving it to set it aside and earmark it, then I don't see any reason why tabling it is necessary. You can table it if you want to until you have a consultant, and then you're wide open to use the whole 5.2 for whatever
Again,
reason.
If the consultant come in and say, we cannot do this, then all of that was earmarked going back in, right?
I would hope so, yes, sir.
That's in the motion.
That's what's in the motion.
That's in the motion.
And basically, like what he said, if everybody is unable to get it, say only 130 of them can get it, that's half of the money will go directly back into that plan, and the other half will be utilized for the purposes that were stated.
Okay, we still have Councilman Green's motion on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor of Councilman Green's motion, please raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion fails. So we'll go back to Councilman Beard's motion. Is everybody clear on his motion?
Yes.
Any more discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 3-2. Thank you, Mr. Beard.
Thank you.
Okey doke. Let's see. Oh, yes, that's right. Don't forget Councilman Jones. Let's get him back in. You think?
Joseph, why do we have these?
He did?
Why do we have these around? Why
Okay,
is it-
Councilman
It's
Jones.
yours.
Councilman Jones left, so we'll continue on with the meeting.
Take home. So you can, on your phone.
Okay,
you
next
pull
to
up
approve on the
everything.
docket
You can pull up everything on
is,
there.
next to approve on the docket is the derelict property docket.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Good evening. You have tonight 5 cases. I know the last 4 are immediate abatement, and I'm trying to remember what we said about the first one. Is that one that's been remediated? Okay, the first one is case number 21-0303, Vertical Bridge AM2 LLC, 2412 Bell Avenue. Vertical Bridge AM2 LLC, Vertical Bridge AM2 LLC. Ms. James, I understand you just want an order of reentry according to state statute?
That's correct.
All right, the next 4, I'll just call all at one time if, since they're all, the request is for immediate abatement. And if it indulges the council, just wait till I finish with it and you could do it all in one motion. First is case number 21-0321, Shaquilla Pulliam, 2719 6th Avenue North, Shaquilla Pulliam, sorry, that's a tongue twister. Next is case number 21-0323, Jackie Green, 2703 6th Avenue North, Jackie Green. Next is case number 21-0326, John Boats, 707 Cornelia Street, John Boats.
He's here. Can you come up, Mr. Boats?
Good evening, sir. You Mr. Boats?
Yes, I am.
All right, I understand we have an issue with your property on overgrowth of vegetation. Do you deny that it's overgrown?
Sir?
Do you deny that the property is overgrown?
No.
Okay. So, do you plan to cut it, or do you want the city to do it and put a lien on it?
I've been assured I'll have it done in about 2 weeks.
So you're asking for a 14-day extension?
Yes, sir.
Ms. James, can you recommend that to the mayor and city council?
Yes, sir, I do recommend that Mr. Boat to the 14 days, extension.
Okay, so the request, Mayor, is to approve Mr. Boats having a 14-day enlargement of time to take care of the problem himself.
Do I have a motion?
Cause I motion that Mr. Bosch have 14 days to clear away the vegetation on this property.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Stewart and several seconds. I'm going to give it to Councilman Beard. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Mr. Boats, thank you for coming this evening, and we appreciate you taking care of the problem.
Thank you.
Next is case number 21-0327, Karen Walls, 114 Taylor Street. Karen Walls. Mayor and City Council, those last three, and not including Mr. Boats, the request is for immediate abatement and a right of reentry according to 21-1911 Mississippi Code.
That's correct.
We have a motion by Councilman Green. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Mickens. Any more discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Yes, sir, that's all of the cases.
Yes, Councilwoman DeChico, I think she had a question from earlier.
I have a question on the monthly report from the code enforcement. There seems to be a different distribution of issues among the wards. In July, there were 3 in my ward, and now there's 0, but it doesn't show closed, it shows 0. And I was just wondering, and also the closed add up to 9 and it has 6. So I just wondered if there was an explanation of what happened there.
Can you repeat it, Councilwoman DeChico? She was
Yes,
talking to
yes.
Mark.
There was a difference in the distribution among wards. For instance, in July, there were 3 in Ward 6, and now there's 0. But it doesn't show 3 in the closed. And also in the closed column, it adds up to 9, and it's showing 6 in the total. And do you know what the issues were in my Ward 6 and what happened to them?
I have to go back and look into the report because that's a generalized report from our software in the system. When we open up a case, depending on what we open, it can be Ward 6, maybe like grass, rubbish, or garbage. And we send out a notice of violation. If the owners have complied, then we close it out. And that automatically generates the report that we get in the system. And that's what I present because we closed it out if they comply. Now, I keep them open if they're not, if the owners haven't complied. That's why I write it up and I bring it before you guys.
Okay.
My assistant prepares that report for me every month. It could be a typo, but that the month you're looking at is August or July.
It's August, but I was comparing it to July.
Okay, and then also, we don't have a set number of cases or that we open each month. We don't have like a set number. This month we can open 25, send out 25 notice of violations as we see them or as they come in, to the online database, which is C26. And we go out and we observe, and if we see a violation, we write it up. This month it can be 10, 15. Next month it can be as little as 5. You never really know. It's no set number. But once we close them out, that means that property owner has complied to the notice. If it's still open, we're sort of still working through the situation.
Right. Another question, how many of the previously approved immediate abatement matters are yet to be addressed? And do you have that number? What's the action plan on that?
Once again, it just depends on what the notice of violation is. If it's a, say, overgrown lot, I go by the statutes, the state statutes. The code compliance process is what I call it in my department. We have to give them a amount of days to comply. If the owner doesn't comply, we proceed with the next step, which is.
I think what she's asking is, of those that the council ordered immediate abatement, what's the status on whether they've been cleaned up? Is that right, Mr.
Yeah.
Chief?
That's it.
What's the status on? Okay, due to the fact that we have several cases that we have abatement order on, once they're ruled immediate abatement, we send it over to Public Works. And then pretty much after Public Works gets the work order, how that's set up, they go out and cut the properties and then they send us back an invoice. It's so many that we have. As you can see, I bring cases before the council just about every council meeting. So it's a good bit of numbers. So as far as my system is in keeping up with them, is to ride by on a daily basis, seeing what properties are overgrown, and to also, once I get an invoice, I know that that property has been cut. Now, if I go by and see it overgrown again, like I said, we have 12 times to go on that property within 24 months. So I will do a work order again, post a sign, send out a work order, and send it over to Public Works for that property to be cut. So it's a number of them that's still waiting to be cut. Public Works works the ward accordingly. So it could be Ward 1 that has maybe 3 or 4, Ward 2 that has 5 work orders, but they go accordingly to how they staff.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? Or do y'all understand what I'm?
Any other questions?
Yeah, I don't have a question. I have somewhat of a statement. I know you asked her about a plan of action, and that is something that I would say Ward 4 has a lot of issues with dilapidated houses and horrible structures and whatever you want to call it. And Ms. James has reached out to me about helping her, come up with some type of a plan to be able to attack these issues a little bit more quicker. And as the saying, effective, efficiently, and proactively. So I will be getting with her, and I know she didn't answer that question, so I was just letting you know we will answer that question. I will be getting with her and come up with some different plans of how we can smooth things out and find different software. I don't think you have any digital software where you can put things in. So. I mean, we are in a new age, a digital age, and we need to find some type of software that everyone can link to be able to see these. I see these fancy iPads we got, so we need to be able to use them and send information over to not just this department, but all departments.
Yeah. So you had 26 properties this August. How did that change? Do they just carry forward? Like, what was your July number? Since I was just mainly looking at Ward 6.
Looked at my July number. I can pull it up, I guess. I go back and look.
I just thought you might know.
No, I didn't know that one. You're welcome. Thank you.
And also, some of the properties, just because we got abatement orders on them, some of the owners do come after that and do cut the yard when they see the signs that we post in the yard. They do come, and so I will get a message from Public Works that the yard has been cut by the property owners. So those that we don't have to move on. So we always hope that the owner will still come in and cut it, but if they don't, that's where we step in and we cut them. So that kind of helps us out as we move throughout the process. But, we're working on different methods and ways, hopefully we can come up with to, stay on top and continue to make sure these properties are getting cut, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. James.
Okay.
At this time, I would request a motion to enter into closed determination upon the issue of whether or not to declare an executive session.
So move.
I have a motion by Councilman Beard. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilwoman Stewart. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Recording stopped.
All in favor, all opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'm glad the recording.